Hello, today is Monday, January 13th, 2020. I'm Joe Schmidt from TC2, and this is Staying Connected. This is part 2 of our 3-part podcast series where I'm talking with Marc, Lindsey, one of LB3's partners, about how Microsoft's updated approach to contracting with enterprises is having a major impact on the Microsoft contracting process. So, Marc, continuing with our last discussion about Microsoft's contract structure, has anything changed from a deal engagement perspective?
Yeah, so from a deal engagement perspective, Microsoft has changed some of the internal incentives and some of the way its contracts are structured. One of the things we've noticed in the last couple of years we're seeing a lot in the deals is that it used to be, up until maybe 2 years ago or so, you could get a smoking deal from Microsoft if you just held out till the end of Microsoft's fiscal year. And they would come up at the last minute with a really great deal and take them a long time to get there. At the 11th hour, they throw something on the table that was nice and strong, and you could sometimes get an extension of any expiring agreements to allow you to lock that up. But what's happening now is that there's a higher premium being placed internally, it appears, on consistent, reliable quarter-on-quarter revenue. So deal teams are actually being disincented to kind of play that once-a-year game. So you can no longer rely on kind of leveraging the end of Microsoft's fiscal year. So don't try to use that as a leverage point. Kind of think about any time your renewal is coming due, you got to bring to bear, the full weight of your negotiating power at the end of the time or near the end of your specific renewal for enterprise agreements or when your MPSA is due, when there's a big buy. So don't rely on that anymore. They're also looking to extract a lot more value out of their existing clients. I mean, it's not unique, but they're contracting and engaging in ways that do that. So one is the inherent lock-in that goes with enterprise agreement, right? An enterprise agreement locks you in for 3 years. And the lock-in, as we'll talk about, isn't just that you're paying for your forecast for the 3 years, but there is no built-in contractual vehicle to allow you to reduce your commitments beyond your initial forecast. So you're effectively locked in to pay that minimum amount for the 3 years. And they're also using audits. Microsoft hasn't historically been a highly aggressive auditing software shop. I mean, they do them, but in their current formulation of their contract documents, they're using audits in a very aggressive way to allow them to do deep dives into compliance review and impose substantial penalties on customers who are out of compliance. We'll talk some more about that a little later in our discussion. But let's just sort of back up a little bit. So what exactly is an enterprise agreement? So the enterprise agreement, the new version of the enterprise agreement, Microsoft says that they are attempting to modernize and simplify their contracts. But a part of what they're doing is creating this new contract stack that is really multiple documents. It's not a single document. There's no single enterprise agreement. The enterprise agreement for Microsoft starts off at the top layer, something called the Microsoft Business and Services Agreement, the MBSA. Under that is a separate artifact called the Enterprise Agreement. Enterprise Agreement has some T's and C's associated with it that are unique to the enterprise program that you're in. Then you have enrollments. There's typically 2 enrollments. It's just a category of product. The enterprise enrollment typically bundles things in it that are licensed on a per user basis. Office 365, Windows, those sorts of things. The productivity suite, Office. The server and cloud are things that aren't typically user-based. They're instance-based. That might be Azure, as a great example, or some of their server licenses. So you have these 2 different enrollments. Under the enrollments are the product selection forms. Product selection forms identify the quantity of items that you're buying in a given enrollment and identifies the particular price points in those given enrollments. So that'll define your Qs and your Ps and also sets the duration of the term of your EA commitment for a given enrollment. And then under the product selection forms is a variety of online contract terms. There's a lot of online contract terms that are incorporated all up and down the enterprise agreement stack. You've got product terms, which do define a lot of very specific requirements around how you may use a given product category. And that includes product terms that may speak to the on-prem software, the perpetually licensed software. There are also some product terms that are in a product terms document that are also part of the online service terms. There's a bit of an overlap between some of these things. The online service terms are typically the terms and conditions that go along with all the online products. Office 365, Azure, they live in the online service terms. There's also a separate category called use rights, and use rights might put in usage metrics or limitations on how you might be able to use certain software. And then under that, there's going to be service levels, data protection rights. So you've got a whole family of online terms that have considerable weight in how you might use or be impacted by the entitlement you're buying in Enterprise Stack.
Thank you, Mark. We'll have one final installment to this 3-part podcast series, so stay tuned. In the meantime, if you have other ICT lifecycle questions, you can contact Mark, me, or any of our LB3 and TC2 colleagues by giving us a call or sending us an email. You can also stay current by subscribing to Staying Connected, taking a look at our new websites, or just follow us on LinkedIn.